Coming up now on your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown, we have several newly confirmed matches for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. We also look at the upcoming lineup for New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion event, and we also have plenty of news and notes from elsewhere around the wrestling world. Subscribe to Spoiler-Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news. Let's start out with All Elite Wrestling. There were several segments on Dynamite Wednesday night, which built up matches that we will see at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view on June 26th in Chicago. For instance, we now know it will be Jon Moxley who will challenge for the AEW Interim World Championship on the pay-per-view. He will face the winner of Hiroki Goto versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from Dominion this weekend. So Moxley defeated Kyle O'Reilly in the main event of Dynamite last night to earn his spot in the interim title match at Forbidden Door. Kyle O'Reilly had won a Casino Battle Royale earlier in the night to earn the chance to face Moxley to then move on to the Forbidden Door. But there's been lots of complaints online regarding who was entered into this Casino Battle Royale and who was not entered into this Casino Battle Royale, as many of the top-ranked wrestlers in AEW were omitted from the match. For instance, there was no Wardlow in the match, and they try and explain that a little while later. Hangman Page was not in the match. Malachi Black, Miro, numerous other names that you would think would be in the title mix were not in the Casino Battle Royale and did not have a chance to challenge for the AEW Interim World Championship. So they explained away why some people weren't entered into the match. For instance, Wardlow said that he turned down the opportunity to be in the match because CM Punk is the real champion and he'd rather focus his efforts on the TNT Championship. There was also a bunch of wrestlers who were entered into the new All-Atlantic Championship tournament. None of them were entered into the Casino Battle Royale either. So you could say that maybe they were omitted from the match because they were in this tournament for a different title. You could possibly say that. But then Hangman Page cut a promo after his victory over David Finlay on the show, and Page basically just said, well, it appears as though I'm not going to be getting a title shot anytime soon, so I'm going to call out the IWGP World Champion for a match at the Forbidden Door. He said he wants to face Kazuchika Okada. So we could be getting Hangman Page versus Okada. But Adam Cole then confronted Hangman Page and said that he should be the one challenging for the IWGP World Championship at Forbidden Door. But he also mentioned that it could very likely be his good friend and Bullet Club stablemate Jay White, who is the IWGP World Champion come that time. So now we're starting to get an idea of who might be in the mix for the IWGP World Championship match at the Forbidden Door. Some combination of Okada, maybe Jay White, maybe Adam Cole, maybe Hangman Page. They're all in the mix for that match. They also announced a fatal four-way match which will take place on the pay-per-view for the newly created All-Atlantic Championship. They announced this title on Wednesday's Dynamite, and there will be 4 qualifying matches. The winners of each of the qualifying matches will then meet in a 4-way match on the Forbidden Door. We saw the first match last night as Pac defeated Buddy Matthews, so we know that Pac will be in the 4-way match for the All-Atlantic Championship at the Forbidden Door. The other 3 matches will see Miro take on Ethan Page, and Malachi Black will take on Penta Oscuro, and there will be 2 competitors from New Japan Pro Wrestling who will face each other for a shot to challenge for the All-Atlantic Championship. There was also a bit of a development on Dynamite regarding a possible tag team title match at the Forbidden Door with some combination of Roppongi Vice, FTR, and members of the United Empire. So we saw the United Empire back on Dynamite on Wednesday night, but we also saw Will Ospreay, the leader of the United Empire. He was on the show. So what happened was Trent Beretta cut a promo talking about how him and Rocky Romero, they were denied their opportunity to challenge for the ROH tag team titles after Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan interfered. So they said, well, we didn't win the titles, but we also didn't lose that match either. So basically saying, hey, we want another crack at these titles. That brought out FTR. Dax Harwood made some comment about United Empire being Will Ospreay's bitch boys. This brought out Ospreay, Aussie Open, and Aaron Hanare then attacked Beretta and FTR, and that set up a trios match, which we will see on Rampage, where FTR and Trent Beretta will take on Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. That should be a fun match. But I wonder if the developments there are leading towards the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team title match that we will see at Forbidden Door, as Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan have a chance to win those titles back from Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens at Dominion. So they could possibly be in a three-way match for those titles and the Ring of Honor titles against FTR and Roppongi Vice. So we'll see where that all goes. Some other news and notes from AEW that you should know. So CM Punk has had surgery. They announced this on AEW Dynamite last night. Punk has undergone surgery, and it was said to be a success. However, there's no timetable for his return to action just yet. There was also a report from PW Insider recently that said there has been an edict issued for there to be no mention of Maxwell Jacob Friedman in any of the advertisements for AEW. And so here's a quote from the PW Insider report on this. They said, MJF is currently being edited out of any TBS and TNT spots he appears in with different AEW footage replacing him. We are told that the existing spots with MJF have been officially pulled, but it's possible some may still pop up as they transition to the newer spots. So they are going full worked shoot with the MJF AEW storyline. There's been no mention of him on AEW programming since that promo he cut on the Dynamite after Double or Nothing. So it remains to be seen when MJF will return to AEW and where this storyline goes. But they are definitely moving forward with the idea that they're treating this as a very real situation and that MJF is under some type of super secret suspension. We also have an update on how Double or Nothing did in terms of pay-per-view buys. So Tony Khan was interviewed by a Jacksonville news outlet. It's actually the News for Jacksonville that he spoke with, and said that the event brought in about 155,000 buys, which is up from last year's Double or Nothing, which did about 140,000 pay-per-view buys. Now, it's down from Revolution in February, which did about 173,000 pay-per-view buys. And it's down from September's All Out, which was 205,000 pay-per-view buys. However, there was a lot of competition that Double or Nothing had. There was the Game 7 between the Celtics and the Heat that occurred on the same night. But I think the point that Tony Khan wants to make is that it's up from what the pay-per-view did last year. And that's the most important comparison is between Double or Nothings year over year. And they continue to increase. So AEW's pay-per-view buys are increasing year over year. Not necessarily from pay-per-view to pay-per-view, however. And just one last note for AEW, and then we'll move on to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Toni Storm did an interview with Renee Paquette, and she spoke about her departure from WWE. And some of her comments, I think, are pretty notable, and they are up on your screen right now. So she spoke about how the frequent talent cuts, the frequent budget-related talent cuts in WWE, led to her feeling like her being there was just pointless. She told Renee, let's face it, they just fire people left, right, and center out of the blue. I could be fired next week, and then it's like, what's the point? It just felt very pointless, to be honest, and it's been hard to convey that, especially to fans, especially to people that just aren't in this business and will never understand. She continued to say that she doesn't hold anything against WWE. She said, I'm not mad. I'm not angry at WWE. I don't have anything against them. It just wasn't the fit. I'm sure they've got bigger fish to fry than me. Why did they care? People get let go from that place constantly. People move around constantly. It doesn't matter if I'm there, but what matters is I'm not having a very good time. And finally, she continued to say that her time in WWE really crushed her love of pro wrestling. She said, "I didn't feel that appreciated, and I just felt like they, at times, didn't have very much respect for me. I feel like over time, they just crushed my love for wrestling. It just wasn't even wrestling anymore. You're not even allowed to say wrestling." So those quotes are all from Toni Storm's appearance on The Sessions with Renee Paquette. It's a big week for New Japan Pro Wrestling as they prepare for Sunday's Dominion from Osaka-jo Hall. Here are the matches that will be taking place on that show. We will see Tenzan team up with Team 6 or 9 to take on the United Empire's TJP, Aaron Hanare, and Francesco Akira. We will see from LIJ, Naito, Bushi, and the Best of the Super Juniors winner Hiromu Takahashi take on Taiji Ishimori, Ace Austin, and El Phantasmo from Bullet Club. We will see Toru Yano take on Doc Gallows. We will see El Desperado, Kanemaru, and Zack Sabre Jr. take on Evil, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi of the House of Torture. For the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, we'll see the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb try to win back those titles from the new champions Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. And for a shot to meet Jon Moxley for the AEW Interim World Championship, we'll see Hiroshi Tanahashi take on Hiroki Goto. And for the KOPW trophy, we will see Shingo Takagi take on Taichi. Now, they have recently revealed what the possible match rules for this will be. So Taichi has proposed a no time limit limited finishers 10 count match. And this is how Taichi explained the rules of this match to Takagi. He said, "I know you're an idiot, so I'll explain it to you. The no time limit part means that there isn't a limit on how long the match goes." Got it. Now, limited finishers, I pinned you with a Gato clutch and you tried to have your little get back on me with the ground cobra. So that's fine. Only my Gato clutch and your ground cobra will count. Other moves, whether it's a lariat, a brainbuster, or a DDT, you can't score a pin from. And the 10 count, whoever gets to a total of 10 first wins. Last time it was 30, and although I can humiliate you and pin you for 30 in one go, I won't because I'm nice. So 10. So 10 it is. How is that? So those are the rules presented by Taichi. As for Shingo Takagi, he proposed a 10-minute unlimited pinfall scramble match, and here is how he explained the rules. It's as simple as can be. Whatever happens, 10 minutes to settle it. Last time we had no time limits and a 30 count. I think in the opening moments of that, we took our time a little as a result. This time, it isn't in the main event, and I think it's pretty appropriate to try and get the win in 10 minutes. That's what's going to put the two of us to the test, mentally and physically. It'll be a different side to the both of us. We'll be throwing bombs from the get-go, trying to get the win as soon as possible. And even though it won't be in the main event, it'll be the match that everyone remembers on this card. Well, if Taichi here carries his end of things anyway, whatcha think, Taichi? So those are the proposed rules for that match, and it will be a Twitter vote to determine which set of rules they go with. And we will also see, and I know this is a big one for a lot of you guys, the Never Openweight Championship is going to be on the line. Tama Tonga is going to defend against Carl Anderson. Now, Carl Anderson missed the June 3rd show. He had tested positive for COVID, but it looks like he's going to be there for Dominion. We will see the IWGP United States Championship on the line as Rock Hard Juice Robinson will defend against Sonata and Will Ospreay. Now, Juice Robinson missed the June 3rd show as well. He had appendicitis, but evidently he's going to be okay for this match. And of course, in the main event, we'll see Kazuchika Okada defend the IWGP World Championship against Jay White. As for New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, they announced this week that they are going to crown New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Tag Team Champions. So tag team champions to go along with the Strong Openweight Championship for singles. And an 8-team single elimination tournament will begin at the Ignition set of tapings in Los Angeles on Sunday, June 19th. So no teams have been officially announced for the tournament thus far. And then for New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong this week, it will be the first show to air from Collision, which was held on Sunday, May 15th from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. So 3 matches from those tapings will air on Saturday night on New Japan World. Those matches are Killer Cross will face Yuya Uemura. QT Marshall will take on Carl Fredericks as the feud between the Factory and the LA Dojo continue. And then it's a 10-man tag team match to headline the show as Bullet Club's Jay White, Juice Robinson, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Hikuleo will face Tomohiro Ishii, Chuck Taylor, Rocky Romero, Mascara Dorada, and Ren Narita. Impact Wrestling presents a show on Thursday evening. Several matches have been announced. They include a Before the Impact match where Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice will team up to take on Taurus and Crazy Steve from Decay. We will see Rosemary, also from Decay, take on Tennille Dashwood in singles competition. Here's one I'm looking forward to. Steve Macklin is going to take on PCO. And we will also see Eddie Edwards tag up with the OGK, the former Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. They'll take on Frankie Kazarian and the Motor City Machine Guns. And in what I'm assuming is the main event, Josh Alexander will face Joe Doring in a non-title match. Just a couple of WWE notes before we sign off for this video. On Raw this week, the Judgment Day faction added a new member in Finn Balor, but then Balor, Rhea Ripley, and Damian Priest kicked Edge out of the group. So Fightful Select posted a report about why this may have happened, why Edge got kicked out of the group, and according to their report, WWE wanted the Judgment Day to be sort of a supernatural faction. In their ongoing quest to create the new Undertaker or new Bray Wyatt. That's where they wanted to go with Judgment Day, but Edge was said to be opposed to this idea. So the decision was then made on Monday afternoon, just hours before the show, that Edge would be kicked out of the group. However, the decision to add Finn Balor to the group was one that was made long before Hell in a Cell, and had nothing to do with Edge being kicked out of the group. So we'll just see where the Judgment Day goes from here, I guess. Another note from WWE, Apollo Crews appeared on NXT this week. He confronted Braun Breaker, and it appears as though we might be getting a match between those two. It was reported by PW Insider that unlike with Natalya or Charlotte Flair or others who have come down to NXT for a short amount of time, Apollo Crews has been added to the NXT roster. He's going to be part of the NXT roster moving forward. Also added to the NXT roster, even though he didn't appear on NXT this Tuesday, is Commander Aziz. Now, there is no word on whether Commander Aziz and Apollo Crews will continue to be aligned in NXT as they were on the main roster. It certainly doesn't seem that way so far, as Commander Aziz did not accompany Apollo Crews on Tuesday night. And finally, WWE will present an episode of Smackdown on Friday from the Raising Cane's River Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Just one match announced for that show. It will be an Intercontinental Championship match as Ricochet defends against Gunther. That should be pretty good. But that's going to do it for this video, everyone. You are now completely up to date on everything making headlines in the world of professional wrestling, minus any potential spoilers. Don't forget to subscribe to Spoiler Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news.